Welcome back to Leadership Rules, where we believe leadership isn't just a role, it's a way of life. So whether you're leading a team, a community, or simply leading yourself, we're here to help you unlock the rules to lead your life with purpose and impact. I'm Nick Niglio, joined by my co-host, Marnie Stockman. Together, we co-authored Lead It Like Lasso and The Business of You, and today we are thrilled to welcome Dr. Heather Handler.
Yeah, we sure are. Thanks so much for joining us, Heather. A little background on Heather, leader who really works at the intersection of education, opportunity, and real-world readiness. I got to meet Heather when I did a site visit to see the programs. So you're program coordinator for CTE in the Upper Shore on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, so we're not far apart, lives in Delaware. And you started 14 years as a teacher, mostly in Brandywine, if I remember that correctly. And on this Friday, we have an exciting announcement. She's got her book coming out. So what you bring to the table in terms of youth apprenticeships, work-based learning, CTE, all of the letters in Career and College Ready is pretty exciting. So welcome to the party, and thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. And, you know, two people I look up to who have written wonderful books. And so, yeah, I'm glad to join this party.
Excellent. Well, we because we wrote Lead It Like Lasso, we like to start with some biscuits with the boss icebreaker questions. So these are just fast, quick response. First concert, best concert.
Oh, boy. Okay, so first concert, this is an odd one. It's Maynard Ferguson.
Okay. That's a new one for us. Yeah.
It was outside. I ate charcuterie and I watched a trumpeter. and that's because I played trumpet.
So, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so I was in high school and Maynard Ferguson was in town and woo, that was a hot ticket. So I had to go. As you could tell, I was a bit of a nerd.
Welcome to the party.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And best concert, you know what? That's Harry Mack.
Okay.
So Harry Mack, I don't know if you're familiar. He takes words, you just send them up to stage, and he's been doing it for many years. And he is from California, and he makes songs out of them on the spot.
Isn't that amazing?
Awesome.
Yes, and he's kind of a millennial guy, but he is incredible. And so he was doing it. You could scan a QR code, and of course our words got up there, and so. So you'd scan that, and then he would put it in his song that he was making up right then, and it was a rap. And he's very talented.
Very cool.
Very cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Okay. Book format: paper, audio, or ebook?
I like paper. I like
Ditto.
the smell of it. I like the feel of it.
I like being able to write in it. Leadership, art or science?
It's an art. And anyone who's telling you different is a math teacher or a liar.
Well, I was a math teacher, and I agree with the art part of it. So I hear you.
It's like grading. Those math teachers never round up.
So Heather, Marnie mentioned in the intro that we've got a book coming out on Friday. When I say we, I mean you. So tell us a little bit. Tell us the book title, what it's about. What? Give us the skinny. What's going on here?
So the book is the Educator's Guide to Youth Apprenticeships. So it's really anybody who's in education starting a work-based learning program. And when I started, I had no resources and really nobody was expecting it to do well. And so this is the book that I wish somebody had handed to me and said, hey, here's your help. This is, stop stubbing your toe all the time, figure it out this way. And so it's a really helpful book for mostly educators, but anybody who would like to start a work-based learning program. Ours is called Youth Apprenticeships because I'm in Maryland, but it can be called anything. It can be the old cohort model and language if you want, but it can be anything you want to call it. So at the beginning of every chapter is a real story that happened, real people in the area. And then at the end are templates and worksheets and even digital resources for people who are, don't have much time because they're tasked with doing this plus their job like I was. And so it's everything you could ever need. And it's on Amazon, and it comes out on Juneteenth, which I'll never forget, which is fine with me. And so I'm looking forward to that, and I hope a lot of people get a lot of help from it.
So what was, having written some books ourselves, and I'm always fascinated about process. What was the first thing you wanted folks to know? Was it like the why of what they're doing, or is it they already know the why and they needed to get down to the what?
This was boots on the ground, how to do it. So how are you going to, you've been tasked with doing it.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to do it? Now, at the beginning of the first chapter, I kind of give some background of who I am and why I fit this so perfectly, and where I came from, and why this works for everybody, but it especially worked for me. And then it gets right into it. Like, how are you going to put this proposal together? Who are you going to talk to? What are you going to do then? How are you going to approach your first business? What are you going to say? What are you going to say when they say no, the big NO? What are you going to do? Because you can't give up. You've been told you have to do this.
Yeah.
And so where are you going to go from there? And then here's some templates, and here's how you track it along the way. So when you do something like this, you start something new, not really thinking about tracking in the beginning, and then at the end you go, wait, what was that? What year was that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who was our first company? Oh yeah, that's right. So instead of having to look it all up, because someone's going to ask later, and it might be the state, and it might be somebody who's very proud of you. Like, wow, you did a wonderful job. Well, how did you track it? Oh, luckily, I have all these templates, and I've been tracking the whole time. And I've been giving surveys to the teachers, and I've been figuring this out the whole way. So every area is different. Every school district is different. So in the beginning, you really do have to figure out which way are you going to go? Which youth apprenticeship are you going to start with? For me, it was pretty easy. I'm in a blue-collar area. So we start with welding. Okay, here we go. Number one, welding. But in other places, it might be something completely different. It might be hospitality. You don't know. You might be in a manufacturing belt. You might be in that. And I met a lot of people over the years who are. I'm just not. And so it depends on where you might be inner city. I don't know. So at the end of every chapter too, it does delve into if you're what steps you could do this week for if you're in a rural or suburban area or an urban area, because I taught in an urban area, but where I am now is more suburban and rural, and so it has to work for everybody. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I mean, that's so again, it comes out this upcoming Friday, Juneteenth, which is the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep.
And available again on Amazon. So we're going to put all of that in the show notes. We're super excited. What I'm super excited about is, I can't think of, Marnie and I, we've started so many different ventures, whether it was writing books or starting companies. And there are so many times where we're like, man, we would just like to hear from somebody who's actually done this, right? With specific examples and potentially templates and checkpoints and guardrails to think about. So I think the approach to the book is super exciting. And I'm sure people who are listening who are in this position, believe me, we have a lot of people in this position thinking about CTE and career readiness and things like that. I think there's going to be a ton of value added. So I can't wait for that to come out and get my hands on the copy. But let's take it back one step for the people who may not be as familiar with. What do you wish more people understood about career and technical education? Are there myths out there? Are there things out there that people are just completely get wrong?
Oh, yes. So career technical education is modernized now. So it's not the old VOTEC that you think of, and it's not where you throw the kids when you don't know what to do with them. So, career technical education right now can be very competitive. It can also set you up for college. So a lot of times I'll hear people say, oh, you're just careers. No. So it's careers in any sense of the word. So maybe they're going to our technical school. Maybe they're going to do this youth apprenticeship. And maybe that sets them up for a career for the rest of their life. But maybe that's the first step of a different career when they go to college. So it's not instead of college, it's in addition. So that's the biggest thing, I think. And it's not, a lot of times I'll use CNC machining, for example. 20 years ago, CNC machiners had gnarled up fingers and their hands were all greased up and they had to lift all this weight. And it was, oh gosh, what a horrible job. Now they type on a computer and it's all ventilated, and it's probably the easiest job you could think of. As long as you know a whole lot of math, it's really easy when it comes to like lifting things. So that's what I mean when I say it's modernized. Automotive's the same way. You might have to lift something, but it's really automized. Like there's a lot of computer work, a lot more than you would think. And so I think those are some misconceptions. It's like that it's instead of college, and then also that, oh, that's right, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, that was where they sent people because, they couldn't do anything else. Not true. Not true anymore.
Yeah, it's almost as though and this is outside looking in, but it's almost as though there's a bit of a renaissance because AI is taking over more of what's been the in jobs for the last 10 to 20 years. And it feels like more of the trade type jobs feel safer and a better career path than what they even did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Am I correct in that assessment or not
yes,
so much?
Nick, that is exactly right. So AI is going to take, if it hasn't already taken, graphics designers and coders and there's a lot of things that 10 years ago we were prepping kids for because, hey, we need engineers, we need coders, we need those things. Yep. And now there's no way you're replacing a plumber with AI. There's no way you're replacing a welder. And I hear a lot of kids going, I want to be an underwater welder. And I always say, have you ever seen a catfish in muddy water? They're about to be your best friend. You sure? And so, but nobody's replacing that. Like there is no way you're using AI for that. There's really no way to replace any of those skills jobs. And so they're safe. We also have a problem as far as the skills gap that we've had for over 30 years now because we stopped teaching it. So, we have to catch up. And everybody knows if you've called one of these people, especially on Thanksgiving like I did, that it's $250 for a plumber to set foot on your property. Yeah. And that's doing nothing except laughing at you for poking a hole in your main water line. Other than that.
Oh, Bill.
Just hanging a shelf. But I thought that was a stud. It was not, that's what I get. So, but you learn really fast. And, if someone's even working that day, because you can't stop it, whatever it is. Yeah. So they're very safe jobs and they're very good jobs. They're good to have. And often these jobs, once you learn them, become a journeyman, you go and do this job for a while. And you go, you know what? I think I'd like to start my own business. Next thing you know, we'll use plumber for an example. You've got your own van in your driveway. Maybe you get 2 vans, then 3, then 4, And for us, many times with youth apprenticeships, we were bringing a kid to someone's house who's getting in a van. And that sounds crazy, but that's what we were doing. And it's like, okay. And then they're going to the job site. Oh, okay. Yep. And they're building something.
Sorry, you triggered something. The first being that the purpose of college is also to get them to career. So everybody's really aiming to be career ready. So that makes total sense. But what you were just saying is the one truck leads to 2, leads to 4, leads to a fleet, leads to a business. A lot of folks, and I live in the same, rural area where I have heard parents say, I don't want my kid to go into this pick heavy machine lifting type of job because when you're 60, you're not going to want to be picking these things up. But in fact, those are the people that become the small business owners that run the fleets. And so it is much more than just that hands-on skill, but they start there. And that is there is an upward ladder of mobility to bigger jobs, bigger companies, other things to do for sure.
Yeah, and the safe jobs are no longer safe. I was a teacher for 14 years, and the only way to advance as a teacher is time and degrees, or go into admin. And many good teachers are not good admin because it's a different skill set. And so you think about, well, that's kind of safe, right? With pension pensions are going away. Some states are doing away with the pensions for teachers. And that's just one example of that used to be one of the safest jobs. And you just go go into this classroom, the kids are all going to behave, everything's going to be perfect, right? And then not anymore. And so it's a different world out there. We need to adjust.
I was talking to someone the other day who was, we were discussing the reverse career fair he had done. So instead of having careers at tables, you had students at tables. And he said one of the kids who you would have said was the toughest nut to crack in school. So he was not academic. He was the highlight of the reverse career fair because he had found his thing. It happened to be electronics, and he wanted to be an electrician. And instead of bringing a trifold board about what he was like, he built a wall where you could turn on a light switch, you could charge your phone while you were talking to him. And I do think when students get to focus on the skills that they have and are passionate about, right, that is, you get a different version of them. And one of the things Nick and I talk about all the time is that character skills, durable skills are 85% of success. That's not just what we say. That's actually what Carnegie and Harvard studies say. So how have you seen that play out in the workforce development, in youth apprenticeships? How do you see that play out?
Well, I'm so glad you said all of that because it did, make me think of a few instances. And we've noticed, first of all, overall, that when students are doing something they love, they don't cause fights, they don't cause trouble, they're not wandering the halls, they're not there, and so we noticed an overall drop in just fighting in schools because, and it made sense, it's like, well, if you don't want to be there and you're mad about sitting in a desk, and then we take you and put you in a place you want to be where you're getting confidence and a little paycheck and you're doing well, of course you're going to have a different attitude. I would too. And so that's one thing we noticed right away. It was like, oh, these people are happy. Like students are happy. We also noticed that they have an air of confidence about them. A lot of times they do a reversal. And so this past year, a couple months ago, or about a month ago, we had our youth apprenticeship graduation, and we had over 100 students graduate, which was a pretty big deal for us, coming up in 4 years from 2 students all the way up to over 100. And one of the mothers was an elementary school teacher in our district, and her son was graduating from the program. She's very proud of him, and she was looking around. She said, well, I taught this person. I taught a lot of these kids, and man, they were terrors in elementary school. And I said, well, they're different. They've grown up. They found what they need to do. And she's like, I would have never guessed. And I thought, that's interesting. So when I taught a lot of those kids, and I taught shop class a good amount of that time. And I remember me going, oh yeah, he's wonderful. He cleans up all the time. He's a big, strong guy. He brings the plywood over for me, because we have to buy the inexpensive kind, which is the big sheets.
Yeah, the big ones.
Yeah. And man, those things weigh a ton. And as I was getting older, I was like, I'm not sure about this. And so people say, oh, I got it. Some of the people would say, I don't want to do this, And then we'd get in a meeting for them with their parents, and the other teachers would say, the English and math mostly, would say, oh, never sit still. He's a terror. Can't, he's always saying something. I'm like, oh gosh, he's an angel in my class. So the exact same thing you might expect. He found his calling, what he loves, the class he loves or she loves, and they did great. And so it's a change of attitude. I just don't understand, why are we making people to conform to this industrial revolution style of teaching when 75% of us don't, we just don't. And if you told me, I've said this before in some of my talks, if you told me that the way to success was holding a sledgehammer and knocking down walls and being outside and digging fence posts all day, I would not want to be in that school. I would say no, thank you. But that's what my brother did right out of high school, and he loved it. And he was one of those students in school that couldn't sit still. He couldn't even fit in the desk. He was a big, strong guy. He did not belong there. It was comical to watch him, But yeah, he barely got out of high school. And when he did, the first job he got was construction. And man, he loved it. And then, of course, he went and bought a truck. I don't know why. That's the first thing they always do. In my area, that's what they do. They buy a truck. They buy new boots. Perfect. They're ready to go. So But yeah, if you had told me the opposite and you think about that for yourself, what's the worst thing you would want to do every single day?
Yeah.
For me, school fit is perfect for me. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved the bells that said start working, stop working. Here's your food. Here's your graham cracker snack. Yes, thank you. But my brother hated it. And
So,
so, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so that question, who am I? What am I good at? What do I love to do? What do you think schools can do better to help the students answer those questions earlier on, as opposed to, them finding it out when they graduate from high school after struggling because it wasn't, going through the normal core curriculum of math, reading, science wasn't really what they were wired to do. How do we help students get there?
So we need to do this earlier, much earlier. And I would say in my district, we're starting at sixth grade, and I would say go earlier. I think first grade, start not necessarily asking them what they want to do, ask them what they think they're good at, and have them try a few things or see things. It's really more about exposure and opportunity. And once they start going, oh, like I personally have a 7-year-old right now, and I know what his skill set is. I know what he likes to do. So I know what he'll be kind of interested in. I don't necessarily know the job he's going to do, and I don't ask him that. But I say, oh, what do you like to do? So I think we need to start doing a better job of that. In Maryland, they are doing a pretty good job with career coaching from middle school through high school. I do think it needs to be in elementary. And I think we need to just make sure that they're exposed to a lot more than they are. I didn't know a lot of jobs existed. And I'll give you an example. In my backyard, there is a lineman school. It's called Utilitrain. Wonderful new school. It's one of 2 on the East Coast. And I'm kind of surprised that we don't take kids there starting in kindergarten because it's right there. and it's really good money. And what does a lineman do? Well, a lineman's the person that when you don't have power, they restore it. And they climb these big, huge poles. And sometimes it's in Alaska. Sometimes it's after a storm. Sometimes the wind was blowing a certain way and a branch fell on it. Whatever it is, but they fix it or they install it. And they make pretty good money doing it. And there's an upward trajectory there too, as far as moving up to being supervisor because they need linemen, And so I think we need to just first expose to the local surroundings and then start exposing them all around. Like, oh, this is available. And, I remember a joke from Jeff Foxworthy saying, do you know they shoot chickens on windshields of airplanes? And there would have been a line in my high school to do that. No, I did not. I had no idea. So, when I was in school, I was told, well, you're smart. You could be a doctor or a lawyer. Oh, thanks. 2 whole choices.
Yeah.
And looking back, I probably would have been a pretty good woodworker, or I would have been something like that. Is something hands-on. I would have been really good at that. Wasn't given to me. So I think earlier exposure, and I think just letting them explore different opportunities, especially right in their area. So I'm hoping to start putting those things together as far as with that lineman school and sending kids out there because, it's one of 2. You got to do it.
So
Absolutely.
it's interesting you say that because the 2 utility companies near me have hired us to train and lead it like Lasso, right? Like, because they are very culture driven organizations, but I have learned a ton about the utility industry and really like they all love the companies they work for and love their work. So I do think that's a strong place for them. The other thing that comes to mind, and you mentioned your 7-year-old, is we help a lot of students figure out who they are becoming, because you're right. If you start asking them what they want to do, who knows? And in 5 years, the current juniors in high school will be getting a job in something they don't even know right now. So, the ones that think they're going into data science, maybe something entirely different, you don't know. But we start asking early what types of things they like to do in their free time. And it is so often we see something they did in 5th grade and when they were 5 that are the same thing that turns into a nugget that is what's going to be their career, whether college or, career right out of high school. So I always think that's interesting. And so we encourage students to reflect earlier on about the the types of things, the way they like to do activities, not necessarily the job. Do you see that as well in that career coaching piece, right? Helping them figure out those types of things.
I do. And, I was thinking when you're talking about that, as far as earlier is better, earlier exposure is better, having real world examples, oftentimes that look like you are much better. That's why they always encourage, different types of teachers. And I think, you're right. What do they like to do when they play? What do you really like to do? And a lot of jobs are going to be tied to AI. It's going to be maintaining that AI beast, and that doesn't exist yet, or it's just starting to. So, and a lot of jobs are going to go by the wayside. So you're right. Like, it needs to be early exposure. It needs to be, what do you like to do? And how do you like to function every day? Do you like to be inside? Do you like to be outside? Do you like to move a lot? Do you not? I think that book, The Business of You, is a wonderful example. I really do. A little plug there. But I do. I think it's a wonderful example of how you can start with that career coaching. So the career coaches depends on each one right now. So every one of them's different. And I wish it was a little bit more standardized. We do have a program that we run them through, but it's all standardized jobs. They're probably 10 years old. So, and I think we need to stop asking them, what do you want to do? Start asking, what do you like to do? So I agree 100%.
That's yeah. And thank you for the plug, by the way. We appreciate that. So, shoot, we can talk about this stuff all day. It's what we think about all day, every day. Can't wait for the book to come out. But we like to ask, the name of this podcast is Leadership Rules. And we like to ask each of our guests to give us their rule. Like, if we had the Nick Niglio, it would be to always see something from somebody else's perspective, or something to that effect. What is your one go-to, Heather, that we can call the Heather rule that you live by and you think is critically important in terms of leadership?
Be open and be positive. That's it.
Love it.
Be open, be positive. Don't shut doors. You don't know who you're talking to most of the time. And over the years, talking to students, I remember saying, look around this classroom. You don't know who's going to be the boss, who you might have to call for a job someday. You don't know who's in this class going to be the rich one, the poor one. You don't know if you're going to bump into them 15 years from now. You don't know if two people are going to get married in this classroom. But that's how I live my life. Be open, be positive. Simple rules. And, I
Very
make sure.
wise.
Yeah, great rules. So where can folks find you? Obviously on Amazon to find your book. And then where else? Do you have a website? You want us to send them to LinkedIn? Where, if they want to get in touch with you?
So I do have a LinkedIn profile, and I did have a website, but I felt like, LinkedIn's stronger. So I'm going to keep it on LinkedIn, and then Amazon. Amazon's the best place to get it. The book is through Routledge. You can also go to their website, but the strongest place is Amazon, and they're quick, so they'll send it. And as everyone probably knows, the quicker you get it before it's released, the better it is for everybody involved. So we do appreciate that. But yeah, that's really it.
Well, I will plug that one more time. So it's The Educator's Guide to Youth Apprenticeships.
That's right.
Excellent.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Heather.
Bye-bye.